Hey guys, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to be reviewing the SIMTOO Dragonfly drone, and this one is kind of trying to compete with something like the Mavic, where the arms are completely foldable and it has a really small form factor for traveling. It's still using like a GoPro style camera. This version has a 3D gimbal and a GoPro style camera all in the package. GPS quadcopter. You're going to be able to put your phone on the controller if you wanted to use your phone as a screen. The cool thing about this one is it also has its own little watch. So today what we're going to be doing is unboxing this, inspecting it, setting it up. This might be split into two videos, so I'll let you know at the end if I'm going to just have that flight test in a different video. But either way, we'll figure it out as we go. So let's go ahead and look at the box here real quick. So there's the front, there's the company name, it's just SIMTOO, SIMTOO, and it's got this follow me on the top, so it's got all those kinds of follow me functions. This comes in several different colors. I believe I got the black version. Okay, so just opening that tab on the bottom, and then it looks like the whole top just kind of folds up here. And we got our accessories. We're greeted with this box that says accessories in the front. So let's go ahead and slide this box back a little bit so we can fit everything on the table. And check this out. This one comes with its own carry case. So look at that thing. That's kind of neat. It's got a strap on the top. And it's actually just a red hard case carrying case with a big old durable zipper here. You can see that. It's got some rubber on the top of the handle. It looks very well built and sturdy. So that's, I'm assuming, is where the drone is. There's one more little latch on the bottom there if you wanted to have another strap for carrying. And then let's see what else is in the box, and then we'll go ahead and unbox everything individually. So I just pulled out a battery. This looks like a giant battery for the quad. And then there's an antenna, and it looks like a phone holder for the controller. Nothing else in the box here besides this little guy. This looks like this is going to be the controller. So let me go ahead and unpackage this. It's just like a bubble wrap with a controller piece of guard foam. And look at that controller. So that's kind of neat. So here's the controller. It's kind of a soft touch feel to it. Hard, but it's got that smooth velvet soft touch to it. And then there's our sticks. So it's going to be altitude hold, of course, because the sticks, they center themselves. Here's the battery. Let's just look at this real quick. So this is a 5200 mAh battery, 11.1 volt, which is 3S. And it's kind of in this kind of proprietary type of case here, where we have a button here, kind of like the Phantom uses. Looks like we can't press it once real quick. I think we got to press this one and press and hold it. And then there we go. And that should probably turn it on, give us our lights. Press and hold again. And that shuts the battery off. Here's our charge port here on the bottom. There's a 3S balance port here. And then this is an XT60 female part of the connector here. So that's going to slide into the craft. First off, we'll open up the accessory box. So it looks like this is a 3S charger, and it's got our US power adapter there. So we're going to plug that in there. And then there's our 2 to 3S port for charging. Looks like it's a basic charger, safe and simple. Looks like it'll do the job fine. Then we have some landing gear. This is funny. This kind of reminds me, it's pretty generic feeling landing gear. It's just plastic here with a little bit of foam on the bottom. It's reminding me of landing gear like, remember the JGRC X1? It has that kind of feel to it. And let's see what else. Here's all our cabling and stuff. In this bag, this looks like all our cabling. So we have 2 micro USB plugs. Actually, this is a mini USB plug. You see that connector there on the front? That's a mini USB. And then this one here is a micro USB. And then this is going to be looking like our charge cable. We're going to be going from the port on the charger right here, the 3S port, and then this side's going to go into the battery to charge the battery right here. See that? And then that's going to plug into the wall. So it looks like that's how we're charging our battery. It's going to be a slow charge, it looks like. Last thing in this box, it looks like it's a separate propeller box. So taking out the propeller, they do only give you one full set. Just gonna rip this thing open here if I can. And let's see what the propellers are like. So they have very similar to like a Phantom style plastic coating on the propellers, you know what I mean? To keep them, to make sure they're not used and to keep the threads safe. And I don't know if you can see that, but it is saying it's a 9450 propeller. So 9-inch propellers, pretty much the exact same thing the newer Phantoms are coming with. And let's see what the hub is. It looks like it is a plastic hub, so it should screw on there, self-tightening. So let's not forget the main event here. Here's the drone. So unzipping the carrying case they give us, and let's see what this is all about. Okay, so there it is. Cool. So this is kind of cool looking. It's kind of a small drone, but with like a seemingly full-size gimbal. Wow, look at that. There's the watch there on the bottom corner. Here's the drone here. Up on the top, a little piece of foam for extra protection. And all that's in here is, looks like the manual. So definitely be going through the manual here on this one to make sure we know all the functions. So we'll overlook that in a second. So here's the gimbal. So this is a 3-axis. It looks kind of like a full-size gimbal, so something the Mavic has on this one is going to be, you know, size. This is a full size. Little piece of foam in here to protect the gimbal for shipping. And there it is. So it's kind of a, you know, GoPro style camera. So it looks like it's going to fit a GoPro if you did want to swap this out for a GoPro, but this one is coming with its own camera, lens cap. So there we go. So there's our pitch axis, our roll axis, and also it's got the yaw axis here on the top up near where it mounts. So that's going to stabilize the video real well. Now this thing does not feel entirely light, so I'm sure that's going to diminish the flight time quite a bit having this thing on. Cool thing about this is it does look like it's kind of a quick release gimbal. You can see that we have these pads on the top. I'm not seeing any screws, so it looks like it's going to be like a snap-in type of gimbal deal. I am seeing these guys down here. I'm not sure what these are, if these are antennas or a little safety. They're just really very soft silicone rubber guys here. There's a micro USB port on the side of the arm here. Pretty clean looking gimbal and camera setup though. The camera looks like it does not have a screen on the back, but it does have a little LCD screen on the front. Then we're going to put that on the side just for a little while and pull out everything else. So here's the watch. Look at this thing. So you're going to put this on your wrist and you're going to be able to control it without that other big bulky controller. Let me just go ahead and take off this seal here, this guard for the screen, and look at this thing. This is darn cool. So we've got buttons here. I'm seeing a button down here, a button on the top right, a button on the bottom left. That looks like an auto and takeoff. Auto takeoff and landing buttons there. It looks like this one here. Wow, look at this. This is a tiny little joystick. And it is feeling like it's clicking in. You can hear that. Feels like it's got maybe 8 degrees of clicking movement when you circle it around and then that click in. There's a plus there. Another button that says plus on it. On the top right. On the bottom there's a minus button. So perhaps that's like your altitude changing. There's a power button there on the bottom left. And then check this out over to the right. Anyway, look at that roller. So perhaps that's to roll the gimbal while you have the watch on, to pitch it up and down. And then the only other thing we have on this is actually this little micro USB port. So I assume this is where you're going to charge this. It's probably got a built-in lithium ion battery inside of it. Kind of a, you know, generic Velcro strap, not the best watch strap, but it looks like it will work. Basically a Velcro elastic kind of band thing here, and you're just going to put that right on your wrist like a regular watch. So that's the watch, and it looks like it's got a bunch of cool functions without using the remote controller. So last thing is the main thing, is the drone. Sorry it took me so long to get to this, but gotta go through everything. So not quite as compact as say the Mavic Pro, but it's getting there. You can see that the arms do fold out like this. Let's go ahead and fold them out. So just kind of pulling them out, and then we're just having a little bit of a tension click. at the extent here. There we go. So that's all 4 arms. And we can see that we got the black version here. The motors are not marked with any specifics on them. It may say in the manual. It looks like it does kind of have this carbon fiber arm here. I'm not sure if that's real carbon fiber, but it has kind of a neat look there. It looks like we can see the cables in there going into the drone from the arm is wrapped in like a cable management mesh, so that's pretty cool. So we have these nice light cups on the bottom. Those are going to give us some great all-around viewing. There's 3 LEDs I'm seeing within the light cup. And the very bottom of the drone looks like this is where the battery goes in. We have like a tension clip to hold that battery, and then we can see that we have the other side of the XT60 type connector screwed and braced in, bolted into the main board here, and we've got the leads there. If we look way up inside there, there is actually a micro USB port way up in here, so maybe a potential programming of the flight controller. And this is curious here in the front. It does look like the gimbal, the camera gimbal combo that it comes with. Look at that. So these are spring-loaded pins. So there's 6 pins, and it looks like it's just going to be a push-in and lock style mechanism to put this thing on. Let's go ahead and just shove this on real quick and see how this works. Okay, so first thing I'm seeing is a warning: do not remove or install the gimbal when the aircraft is powered on. So make sure you do this when it's powered off. And it looks like it can kind of only go in one way. And it looks like the front is the part with these little silicone tabs here. Okay, so it took me a minute to figure this out behind the scenes, but basically this is the way you put this gimbal in. It's fairly simple. There's just a quick little technique, and it should be pretty easy. So we've got this little notch here on the back. You see that little lip notch? So you want to make sure that that goes in first and kind of notches into the main board here. So you just kind of push that in first to make sure that's holding on. There we go. Okay, so once it kind of notches back and clips on and you know everything's in, then you know this thing's on. Okay, so I'm just grabbing that landing gear. There was 2 of these in the box, in the part of the box. And it looks like it's also just kind of a slide clip system here. It doesn't seem like either landing gear matters which way it goes. You can go on either side. There's this little clip tab, so it looks like you got to kind of push this in a little bit, and then it kind of slides in and it's held on with some tension. Slide that one on too, and just push in a little bit so this thing can slide down in. There we go. So both are on. Let's see how this thing looks standing up. Alright, cool. So there it is, and all we got to do now is slide in the battery. A little funky. It does look like with this battery you really want to make sure that when you're in these notches, it's pushed down way in the notches on both sides. So this seam is actually really close. And then go ahead and push it in really tight until you hear the snapping and clicking so it locks in the battery. So that definitely could have been done a little better. The tolerances looks like they're a little bit off, so it doesn't make it as easy as I would have liked to see. Let me just go ahead and power on and try to power on like the watch and see how this thing does. So taking off the lens cap, we can see our lens there. And I'm just going to push in this power button on the back and see how it goes. So I'm just going to kind of have it set like this and hold in the power button. There we go. So lights turning on the drone. Let's see what the gimbal does. So we're hearing some beeping. And while it's doing that, let me go ahead and turn on. You can see that the gimbal's leveling itself. Kind of neat lights on the camera. I'm seeing a green light, a red light, and then 2 blue lights around the mode and the power buttons. So while that's booting up, let me go ahead and turn on this watch. Okay, wow. So as soon as I turn on the watch, we're seeing a bunch of stuff going in on the watch. So it just went ahead and initialized. Wow, yeah, we can control the gimbal with this roller on the watch. So look at that. So I'm pitching up front. I am kind of noticing that the gimbal is actually yawed way to the right. You see how that's not sticking straight out, so I'm going to have to check on that. So apparently we can control it without the main controller, and we can pitch the camera up and down with this roller on the right. So that's already really promising. I'm just kind of playing with the buttons right now, but it looks like when I click in the joystick down, see that turn off the front red LED lights. That's interesting. It's saying that there is a high GPS h-stop, so that means the GPS is not good because I'm in the house here. But this is pretty darn neat. We have all the information we need to know. It looks like there's two sets of information here. Looks like this one up top is for the drone. It's saying we have 9 satellites right now, and we've got the battery power up here. And then on the bottom, looks like this is the watch. So you can see the watch battery is not very charged because I haven't charged this one. I did go ahead and charge up the drone battery. And then we have GPS on the watch. This watch actually has GPS inside of it, so that's pretty cool. And then we have more readouts here on the list there. So a pretty neat watch. I just wanted to boot this up real quick and see what it looked like. It looks like it's definitely going to be flyable with just the watch, so that's very promising. So let me go ahead and power this thing off, set this on the side, just by pressing and holding down the power button on the watch. And go ahead and get the controller, kind of the antennas on and everything. I'm just holding in the power of the drone on the back and turning it off. So it looks like when I did power off the drone, it looks like the camera is still staying on and it's saying waiting for connect. Then take this off real quick. So you see that, it's just a little protecting film. Let's just go ahead and while we're setting up the controller, let's see if that camera eventually turns off. That'll be good to know. So I'm just going to let that stay on. You can see that it's got that blue light on there. And so while I'm setting up the controller here with the antennas and the bracket, let's see if that eventually turns off. Really simple. Looks like we're just screwing this into the top of the controller here, like so. So just tightening up this thumb screw here, get that nice and tight. And then this is actually, it's actually got like a bolt here. There's a nylon bolt and a screw with a hex screw. And it's already got a pretty good tension. I can kind of feel it. I can bend it, but it will stay there exactly where I put it. Then we flip this controller over and check this out. We've got the Wi-Fi, or we've got the controller antenna hook up. So we're gonna just screw that in nice and tight. And it's a pivoting antenna. There we go. So that's how the antenna is gonna look there. So when we're flying, we probably want to turn this like, you know, to the right. Could always get a bigger antenna for a little more control range, but we'll definitely be testing it with that antenna it comes with. And the cell phone holder, it's just tension. It's just spring tension. Let me go ahead and grab my cell phone and see how this thing fits in. So I've got my LG G5 cell phone. It looks like the camera, I'm just going to mention this now, it looks like the camera's staying on. So maybe something you need to do when you turn the drone off, make sure your camera and the gimbal is turned off. So I'm just going to slide in my LG phone, and it looks like it's fitting in perfectly. This is like a 5.5 inch phone. And let's see how much more room we got. So we got about another inch. So the next thing we need to do is go ahead and download the app and go over how that app works. And since the camera is not really turning off, I'm just going to go ahead and try to click and hold this power button. And there we go. So you got one beep and the camera goes off. So it looks like it'll turn on automatically when you turn the craft on, but make sure you turn that off after you're done. Okay guys, so I've gone ahead and went and downloaded the SIMTOO app in the Android App Store, since this is an Android phone. And it's kind of cool. It's giving you kind of pages from the manual where it's got like precautions and stuff like that when you first open the app. It's showing you how to open up the arms, and it's also showing you how to put on the propellers and put on the gimbal and the battery. So kind of interesting. We're going ahead and pressing OK. And here's what the app looks like. Let's see. So it's in portrait mode at first. Okay, so we've got connect camera, media library, and safety alert. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on the drone again, turn on the controller, and see how this app connects up. This time let's go ahead and turn on this controller first. Last time we only used the watch. Then I'm going to power on the drone by holding in the power button. So the lights come on. So we're hearing camera beep. then the drone initializes. And it looks like this one, the gimbal does take a while to kind of go ahead and go through its self-leveling checks and stuff. So you just want to kind of let it do its thing. This one's going to be important when you're flying it in the park or wherever you're flying this thing, when you're out flying, to go ahead and make sure you give this thing enough time for this gimbal to do all this before you start moving it around. So we hear those final beeps from the gimbal, and then what that tells me is the gimbal is ready to go. What's interesting about this actually is, check it out, with this right roller we can actually move the gimbal, the yaw of the gimbal, and with the left roller on the main controller we can do the pitch. I'm assuming that we should be able to also do the yaw kind of from the watch. First thing we should be doing is connecting to the controller. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on our Wi-Fi here, and let's see if the controller comes up. So there it is. So you see SIMTOO Ground 316. That's what I need to connect to. So the phone is directly connecting to the controller, and then the controller is going to be connecting to the craft. So it is saying in the instruction manual that the initial connection code, see how it's saying password, is 12345678990. Okay, so got that all typed in. Gonna go ahead and connect, obtaining IP address, and we're connected. So it looks like we are internet unavailable. Okay, so we're connected to the controller regardless. Close this, open up the SIMTOO app, and let's go ahead and connect to the camera. Okay, I don't have an SD card in, so of course before you take video you're going to want to make sure your SD card's in there. Here's all the options here on the left for interval shooting. Let's see, if we press this we have our resolutions for our video camera. So you can go all the way up, it looks like to, is that 4K? Actually that looks like it's 2K. So you can do 1080 at 60, or you can do 2K at 30 frames per second. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to 2K, and it's adjusting that. And let's see what's over here on the right. So you can click on to photographs, and you can do burst, you can do video or short video. There you go. So that, I'm assuming that just takes a shorter video and stops. I'll just leave it on video for now. Let's see if we press minus or plus, what happens here. Okay, so we've got digital zoom capabilities, so that's kind of neat. And I believe when you touch the screen, yeah, so the controls go away. So you can have your full screen of your FPV while you're flying. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing any telemetry on the screen, kind of like the Phantoms do, DJI does. But I do have my telemetry on the controller. So you can see here on the controller, we've got 11 satellites, we've got our RSSI signal, battery of the controller, and battery on the drone there. So let's see what happens if can we just arm this thing? There we go. So I've had both sticks down and in, and you can hear how it armed. See what happens if we just hold the throttle stick down. There we go. So it eventually turns the craft and locks the motors, turns the craft off. I'm going to go ahead and arm again. Let's see if we can disarm like this. Both sticks out. Yeah, so we can disarm faster with both sticks out. You see the H there, 0 meters, and distance. So that would be height from us, and then D would be distance from us. So at least we have height and distance telemetry there on the controller, so not too bad, and then we can see our FPV there. So let's kind of see what the latency is here. So you can see that it's got quite a bit of latency there. You see how I'm moving, and then the camera's moving. So that's a couple hundred milliseconds, so that's quite a bit of a latency even this close. So it looks like you're not going to get the best, quickest video response real time, but good enough just for doing pictures and camera, you know, for a camera drone. But you don't want to be doing any really close proximity flying with this one. I think that is a really cool feature right out of the box, how you can go ahead and adjust the yaw of the camera. The only thing that scares me about that is you won't really know when you're flying FPV. It's hard to tell where the center of the camera is, and with this roller here there's no notch, you know what I mean? So it's going to be hard to tell exactly which way you're flying forward. Like if you're only looking at your screen and you're not looking at the craft, if the camera's like this, sideways like that, it's going to be a little tough to tell unless you somehow can see part of the craft, which you really can't in the FPV camera. So guys, I think that was a really thorough, in-depth unboxing, inspection, and setup of the SIMTOO. I think I'm going to actually split this video into 2 parts. So I know it took me a long time for this one, but I think we really went in depth into everything here. The last thing you're probably asking yourself is, will the main controller fit also in this case? And the answer is, unfortunately, not quite with the controller. Without the controller, you can see that the case does close nice and tight, and we can fit everything in if we wanted to, including the charger. If you wanted to stick the charger in there, you can. But the problem happens when we go ahead and try to put the controller in here. There's just no way for the whole case to close. So, you know, once you do go ahead and slide the controller down in, I tried multiple different ways, but there's just no way that controller, you know, is going to fit in there. So it looks like maybe if they kind of did a little bit more of the case engineering to fit this controller, it would. If you want to take the full size controller, you're going to have to carry that around separate. When the next video is ready, the flight test, I'm going to do a thorough flight test on this thing. Go ahead and take it out to the park, probably do some range testing, see how this thing performs. I'll go ahead and when that's ready, I'll have that pop up on the top here, and I'll also have the link down in the description of that video where that flight test, when that flight test is ready. But if you are interested in this guy, go ahead and click the link as well down there, and you can see the current pricing on this, all the specs and everything involved. But if it's you know, if it's in the right price bracket, definitely, and it performs well, it definitely may be a competitor to the Mavic, since it is pretty portable here. Of course, not quite as portable as the Mavic, but you also get this cool watch here, and that's something the Mavic doesn't have. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the flight test.